Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. At town meeting day in communities all across Vermont, volunteers were elected to provide the vital services and execute the key functions of our local governments. The elected volunteers are community members who serve on select boards and school boards or work as town lister or justice of the peace. To help these municipal officials do their jobs effectively, UVM Extension offers a wide variety of educational sessions as part of its annual Town Officer Education Conference, also known as TOEC. Today we'll hear from two guests about the upcoming TOEC dates in April, and we'll learn about the conference topics such as the census, property tax issues, and the digitization of land records. So joining us via Zoom are Gary DeZiel and the conference coordinator from UVM Extension, and Deanna Robitaille, district advisor from the Vermont Department of Taxes Property Valuation and Review Division, which is one of the many partners of this year's conference. Thank you both for being with us. Gary, let's start with you. Extension has been hosting the Town Officer Education Conference for more than 75 years. Why was TOEC started, and what are some of the points of history along the way?
Well, yes, right. Since they began in 1945, TOAC or TOEC, they've been designed to help a wide variety of town officials, like listers, assessors, town clerks, you listed some of the others, to do their jobs more effectively, more efficiently, by providing updates on everything from tax laws to regulations, municipal record keeping, effective strategies for handling other town issues. And the concept and the reality behind TOEC is in keeping with Extension's mission. It's our core mission. We provide education and outreach as part of UVM's land grant college mission, and we try to help improve communities and the lives of Vermonters. And I think TOEC is all about what is best about Extension, and that's helping our neighbors and contributing towards our well-being as a community and society. Another unique thing about TOEC is that they're meant to bring together a lot of different town leaders so that they can talk to each other and kind of exchange ideas. It provides a great opportunity for them to learn not only from the experts, like we have Deanna today with us, but also from each other. I mean, that's really, really important. For instance, we have a panel for town clerks speaking about digitization of town records, where they're learning from each other, and listers, open forum, where they can talk about issues that are important to them right now.
Great. And a point of history for 2021 is that TOEC is being held virtually and for free. So, Gary, give viewers some of the details as dates and how to register.
Okay, yes, right. There's two big things here this year. First is that it's virtual. We're using Zoom video conferencing, just like we're using right now. And the conference will take place over 3 days with 3 live 60 to 90 minute sessions each day. And they will be Monday, April 12th, Tuesday, April 13th, and Thursday, April 15th. And people can register at www.uvm.edu/extension/TOEC. And another important thing is that for the first time ever, these are being offered free, since we don't have any physical meeting space, no rental expenses, no meal expenses. And since our speakers, out of the goodness of their heart, are doing this as a volunteer as well as program committee members, we're able to offer this, what we think is a public good, free to town officials and others this year.
Terrific. Well, so town clerk or select board members are highly visible positions, but who are some of the other town officials that benefit from these conferences, and how do communities benefit?
Right, we have a lot of towns in Vermont. You've heard of the 251 Club. And there's regional planning commissions, there's solid waste districts, there's more. I mean, there are thousands of local officials filled by election or appointment. While I can't guarantee that TOEC is for every one of those local office holders every year, this year's agenda serves a good portion of them, particularly listers and assessors, town clerks, health officers, municipal library directors, planners, and others. Communities benefit by their town officers being better informed about updates and changes. And last year has been a doozy for change and adaptation. So that's it.
Indeed, it has been a doozy. So why don't you discuss that, about the things that change every year that people need to know? Why is this every year?
Well, as people in the audience listening, they know that their lives have changed on a weekly basis, yearly basis in their employment. This have to keep update on an assortment of issues, regulatory changes, rules, changes in software and procedures, policy. It's just vital for the function of our towns.
And as you mentioned, one of the areas of annual change is in property taxes. Deanna, what property tax changes are town officials and taxpayers going to see in the year ahead? Thank you for being here for this.
Thank you for having me. So it won't be quite so visible on the taxpayer side of things, but one of the most substantial changes of probably the last 20 years to the property tax system is coming this fall. The Vermont Department of Taxes is slated to roll out a new statewide grand list software that will be used in every town and city to help modernize and streamline property assessment in the annual equalization process. It directly impacts the state's homestead education tax rates. So some efficiencies there might be seen, but again, it's not going to be visible to the taxpayer themselves. This new platform will provide greater efficiencies and provide much needed tools for municipal officials, most likely the listers and certainly the clerks and the district advisors staff at PVR to perform annual assessment maintenance. The very first session at TOEC is actually dedicated to that endeavor. Beyond that exciting and probably anticipated news at the town level, we're still trying to navigate the effects of the pandemic. They continue to present some significant hurdles for the municipal officials. And our goal at PVR, kind of like what TOEC is to provide guidance and tools to help officials to be effective and knowledgeable as knowledgeable as possible in serving their community, particularly knowing so many of these positions are basically on a volunteer basis. So the motto is whatever we can do to help them. That's what we try to do.
Awesome. And another change that's coming is the digitization of land records. What's that going to mean for town officers and maybe even landowners?
Sure. So interestingly, digitization is not a new concept. The Vermont Municipal Clerks and Treasurers Association began working on this a little over a decade ago and putting out advice to their membership to start at least looking at the possibility of digitizing. And the pandemic has kind of brought this to a head because so many town clerks' offices had to be closed to the public for safety reasons. That title searchers, landowners, attorneys were not able to access their land records in a physical format. So the towns that had already moved to digitization had a bit of a leg up. There was a grant through the CARES program through the federal government that was actually administered through the tax department. And we were able to help 106 towns digitize anywhere from 5 to 40 years of their records, which is what is required for a title search. Excuse me. And in total, we distributed a little over 1.7 million.
That's remarkable, and what a gift to the towns, as I'm sure you're aware, because things have become more complex over time.
They really have, and at the end of the day, it's hard to realize that into this day and age that most everything at the town level is still in hard copy format. Everything's in archives in the town vaults, and they're meant to last forever. So the idea of digitizing is great. The other hurdle there, of course, is the money. It's expensive, and to try and push that off onto your taxpayers, it's sometimes a hard pill to swallow. And because a lot of people don't understand the municipal offices, then they don't understand the value of that investment.
So as a former town clerk of Montgomery, which you were, how did you benefit from TOAC as a town clerk and many other positions?
Excuse me. Yeah, so I was the town clerk and treasurer for the town of Montgomery. It's really common for local officials to hold multiple hats. So I was also Lister, Justice of the Peace, Cemetery Commissioner, DRB or Development Review Board Clerk, Teen Center Director. I'm sure I'm missing something in there. But one of the greatest things, as Gary mentioned earlier, is the networking. It's really, really easy in municipal government to kind of think that the world stops at your town border, and to try and visualize what you look or your town looks like contributing to the whole, but also realizing that there are other officials out there that have probably gone through all of the hurdles you've already faced. So realizing that there are other resources out there that aren't necessarily UVM extension or PVR, but other clerks and treasurers, listers out there that you can really gain some knowledge from.
I bet. So back to Gary. What are some other key areas of focus? You also have creative placemaking, leadership, lots of things. What do you want to key on?
Well, we're offering 9 sessions, and there's like for a session, for instance, on the 2020 census and how that may impact our future, because the federal government uses that census data for grants to the state, for instance. Dr. Patty Kelso, who's the Vermont state epidemiologist who works with Dr. Levine, will discuss the ongoing vaccination efforts and lessons learned over the past year. I mean, that's vital to start our economic engine again, right? And Deputy Commissioner Tracy Dolan from the Vermont Department of Health will talk about key elements to our response to COVID-19, leadership and partnering with Vermont's communities. Placemaking, you mentioned placemaking, a presentation by AARP on creative placemaking, making communities good places to live, and ideas for community members to connect to.
So we're just about out of time, Gary. Before we go, remind folks how they can learn more about Town Officer Education Conference and how someone can sign up.
At our website, for www.uvm.edu/extension/TOEC, the agenda and the registration are there.
Okay, thanks to Carrie DeZiel from UVM Extension and Deanna Robitaille from the Vermont Tax Department. Thank you so much for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And thank you for joining us across the fence. I'm Fran Stoddard. Stay well.